Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to talk horror. Today I'm here just to let you guys know everything that I watched in the month of January.
It's coffee time.
So since moving into the new house, obviously we've been extremely busy organizing things, getting new furniture, building furniture. It's been crazy. Plus I'm back full-time at work and I just started going back to the gym, so I need just to find a schedule so that I have time for everything like it used to before. So I'm sorry if some of my videos are a little bit delayed, but also because we've been so busy I haven't been able to catch up with as many movies as I wanted in January, but I did also binge a couple of TV shows. So I'm here to talk to you guys quickly about everything that I watched in the month of January. Alright, so let's start with the beginning of the year. 1st of January. So I decided to finally watch the movie Another Earth. Now, this movie is one of those that I always felt like I wanted to watch it, but I had to be in the right mindset for it. Some of these like slower burner films, I feel like I really have to be in the mood for them. Unfortunately, even though this movie has really good reviews and I don't think by all means that it is a bad movie, I felt like I didn't really vibe with it. The pacing of the film didn't work for me. It does have strong performances and I really like the idea behind it. But it was just not exactly for me. And then on the 2nd of January we have another movie that it also wasn't for me, so you can tell already this year didn't begin really well for me. So The Whole Truth is an exclusive Netflix film and I was really excited about this one. I really liked the trailer and I thought I was gonna love it more than I did. Another one that I feel like it had a really good idea and it had some interesting images, but it felt quickly predictable and quickly dragging. So that was kind of my main issue with it. Like at some point I was watching it and I just wanted the movie to end because I was kind of bored with it, and that is never a good sign. So after that I watched Antlers. Now, if you watched my video on disappointing movies or worst movies of 2021, you will know my feelings of Antlers. So, I didn't hate the film, okay? It was not one of the worst movies I've watched in 2021, but it was one of the most disappointing ones because I was extremely excited. Guillermo del Toro helped with this film, especially with the creature, and I was so excited about that. Now, the film is definitely worth a watch and definitely has really creepy moments, good images. The problem with this film that I had was that it didn't have anything really fresh to add to this type of films. It just felt like another typical movie commentary on grief and family, etc. Like it was nothing new. So that's why I was a little bit disappointed with this one. After that, I watched Blood Red Sky. This is another one that I found on Netflix, and another one that I wanted to watch for the longest time, and I was pushing it off, and I finally watched it. Now, this film is another one that has a really strong beginning and really engages you and really makes you want more. And at some point, I feel like the movie kind of had the issue that it was too long for its own good. I feel like they were dragging it too much towards the end and it was getting a little bit repetitive, but I do love the concept of vampires that they have in this film. So if you like vampires, I still recommend you to check it out. Then we have Murder by the Coast. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I love true crime stories and I love to check out true crime documentaries. This one I also found on Netflix. And I found this one extremely interesting and engaging. This is one that really shook me to my core because this is a case that we had in Spain when I was young, and I do remember some of the images from television from when I was young, and I was not aware of the whole story. And this is such a good example of how quickly we judge people based on what the media tells us about them. So I felt like this one was such a good, strong documentary. If you are interested in true crime, I think that this one is fantastic to check out. Then another Netflix movie that I watched is The Wasteland, El Páramo. This is a Spanish film, and it reminded me of the movie The Wind, which I thought was fantastic. I felt like that's what they were trying to achieve with this film, but they were not as successful when it comes to the atmosphere. So I feel like that was my biggest issue here. The atmosphere was just not there, so the moments were not as creepy as they could have been. There was not as much tension as there could have been. So I felt like it was a little bit of wasted potential here, because I really did enjoy the movie The Wind, and I recommend you guys to check it out. It's kind of like a horror western. Really atmospheric, really creepy, and I feel like this one is a movie that tried to emulate that, but it failed. And since I do watch a lot of Netflix, I also watched Mother Earth. I've always been a fan of Chloe Grace Moretz, and I was excited to see her in this role. We have here a post-apocalyptic world in which robots have turned against humans. So we have here a world in which we have created these almost human-like robots that are supposed to be there to be our butlers and to serve us, and then at some point something happens and all machines turn against humanity, which it is a great concept. I mean, it's nothing new, but I was really excited to see what they did with this film, especially having a pregnant woman as the main character. And it had a lot of good moments. There were some moments that I really truly enjoyed about this film, but at the end of the day it was a predictable, standard, end of the world movie. So don't go into it expecting an extreme fresh take on it. But if you enjoy this type of films, I definitely think it's worth your time. Then I gave in and I finally watched Don't Look Up. I was not going to watch this film because I had the feeling it was not going to be for me. I'm not the biggest comedy fan, but I ended up coming in and giving it a watch because of the strong cast. And honestly, I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like there were some really funny moments in the movie. This is a satire, and I feel like there were important, funny messages that the film managed to captivate. I really love some of the characters, especially Timothée Chalamet. I thought he was fantastic, but I didn't end up loving it as much as other people did, and I am really frustrated with this film because it has been nominated for a lot of Oscars, for a lot of the Oscar categories, and I just don't feel like it's deserving of that. So I'm kind of frustrated with this film also because of that, because I feel like it's taking away space for other movies that deserved it more. So I feel like it's an okay movie, but I really do not get the hype with it. Then I watched Intuition, and this is basically your regular bland Netflix thriller that they keep putting out. I keep eating them up. And it had nothing original going on for it, really. The twist is something I've seen done 300 times before, so I would just, let this one slide. Then I obviously started binging all these Scream movies. I watched Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4 in preparation for the new movie, Scream. And I had so much fun returning to the franchise. I think it's something that I want to do more often this year. Just watch all the movies of a franchise and maybe make a ranking video of it. I did do a ranking video on all the Scream movies so far. I'm not sure if we're gonna get a 6th movie. I think I read something about it that it's possibly going to be made, because of course the new film has been really well received, and honestly I would not be opposed to it if it's by the same directors. I had faith in them because they did Ready or Not, so I had faith in them and they did not disappoint me. So yeah, I binged the whole franchise and I just loved going back to it. Then I made the mistake of watching Friend Request. This is another one that I had on my list of movies, with media, social media that I had not watched yet. And boy, was this bad. It was really, really boring. Do not recommend. There's much better movies out there. So yeah, you can also skip this one. Then also I rewatched Spider-Man Homecoming. and Spider-Man Far From Home to get ready for the new one, Spider-Man No Way Home. So I have to say, still the first one, Homecoming, is my favorite from this new trilogy. I don't know why, but that's the one that really, you know, gave me the best feeling about the character, the best connection with the character. It felt the most Spider-Man to me. The third installment, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, not gonna lie, but I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. It had a lot of nostalgia to it because we do see some of the older characters from the other Spider-Man movies come back to the screen, which was great. But yeah, it didn't really blow me away, but I still feel like this new trilogy with Tom Holland is really strong, and I really like him as Spider-Man. Then I watched Rio because, I don't know, I never watched this film. I wanted something super light to watch, something just fun and cute, and that's exactly what I got. Also, I love birds, so I had never seen this film, and I decided just to give it a try. I don't watch many animated movies anymore, but I do want to catch up with some of the new ones on Disney Plus. If there's anything new that you would recommend me to watch first, please let me know in the comments. Then guess what? I watched another thriller on Netflix, Brazen. A new thriller. I think this one was inspired on a novel by Nora Roberts. And I was excited about this one because it has Alyssa Milano in it, and I've always loved her. And unfortunately, this is another one that started kind of interesting, but it was so predictable from like the very beginning. I could already tell you what was going to happen next, and that was a little bit frustrating for me. So I would say only watch it if you like, you know, this typical directly to TV release thrillers. That's kind of what it feels like a little bit. So, you know, only watch it if you kind of enjoy those. Then I watched Eternals on Disney Plus, and I kind of understand why so many people hated on this film, but honestly, I had a lot of fun with it. I think the biggest issue is that this is a Marvel movie that includes characters that were never really introduced in any of the other Marvel films. So they feel so detached from the franchise, you know, from the Marvel universe, that a lot of people are having trouble now to connect with them, especially since these are a little bit more almighty god kind of like characters, and they are a little bit harder to connect to at a kind of like a personal level, emotional level, because they are not humans like some of the other superheroes that we know that we can relate to so much. I feel like a lot of people relate a lot more to Iron Man or Spider-Man because they are regular people. But I really enjoyed this film, I have to say. You know, I really love all the mythology behind it, and there were some really cool special effects in this film, and I did enjoy it. So sue me. Then I finally got to watch The Little Things. This movie, we gotta talk about it. I was excited about this one because Jared Leto and playing a possible serial killer, I was like, yes please. But unfortunately, this movie was so dragging. I felt like this is also a movie that once you finish watching it, you have no closure, you have no proper ending, and that was so frustrating for me as a viewer. I felt like this movie was trying to be perhaps a little bit pretentious, and it ended up being a messy plot, which led to me being frustrated as a viewer. I felt like the movie was a little bit over the place, and I didn't feel like at the end of the day it had a purpose. I'm being a little bit harsh. I mean, the acting is amazing. There were so many good things in this film, but it just flopped for me, all right? So if you really love this movie, I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, it was just not for me. And the last movie that I watched that I logged on the 30th of January is Nightmare Alley. I do have a spoiler-free review of this film if you want to check it out. You guys, if you watched it, you know I loved it. I love Guillermo, he did not disappoint. Now, I know a lot of people have a problem with the pacing. This movie is really slow paced, and it takes a long time for everything to really build up. It might be also a little bit too long for some people. I totally understand. but I just loved it. So I'm just here to tell you, give it a try, please. Absolutely loved it. I was really glad to see that it also entered a couple of categories on the Oscars, so it was nominated, and I'm just really proud of Guillermo. I feel like this movie is fantastic. I was a little bit surprised that Bradley Cooper didn't get nominated. I was hoping he was gonna be, because I feel like this is one of his strongest performances. But yeah, we'll have to see. I am still excited for the Oscars this year, and there's a couple of movies that I still have to watch before the ceremony to catch up on things that are nominated. Let me know down below also what you thought about the Oscar nominations. You know, were you surprised? Were you disappointed? Let me know. Alright, so after all of that, I'm here to talk to you about some TV shows that I binged in January. So I decided to give a second chance to the TV show Scream. Back in the day, I started it, got bored, and I never returned to it. But I decided, since I had binged now the 5 movies, I was gonna give it another shot. And I managed to finish season 1. I still am not a huge fan of the show, to be honest. I think they were trying so hard that it just didn't work for me. It doesn't feel like Scream to me, and I think that's the biggest issue that I have with it. The first 2 seasons follow Emma. She lives in Lakewood, and this town has legends and secrets, and she is in great danger because of something related to her and her family and her past. And there is a masked killer that is starting to slash teenagers, and the whole town is extremely worried, and they want to catch this killer. Now, this TV show, I think there's different things that I didn't like. First of all, it didn't feel like a Scream to me. Like, I didn't feel like it had that formula that worked so well with the films. And also the characters. I didn't like any character per se. I didn't vibe with them. I could not relate with them. And that makes it really hard, because, you know, if you dislike the characters and the tone of the TV show is also not what you expected, yeah, it didn't really work for me. But I'm still gonna push through season 2. And I know that season 3 follows a different set of characters and stuff, so I still want to continue with the show. Alright, next we have to talk about Cobra Kai. I finally sat down to watch this show. So many people have recommended this to me because obviously I love the 80s. I watched Karate Kid when I was a kid. I rewatched it so many times. And also it has a lot of 80s soundtrack, like all of those hair metal bands that I used to love and I still love. And this is a show that started on YouTube, and then I think they dropped it and Netflix picked it up. So thanks to Netflix for that. And I have to tell you, I enjoy it, but not as much as I thought, because the show is just so predictable, like extreme. It has so many flashbacks. Like, basically the whole show is flashbacks and montages. But I'm still having a lot of fun, and we follow the characters of the original Karate Kid films when they are adults, and Daniel and Johnny are still kind of enemies, and I love the dynamic. I have to say, Johnny is a lot funnier. His lines and his comments are what makes me laugh sometimes. And I had a lot of fun with the show. I'm gonna keep watching season 3 and 4, and I know that it has been confirmed as well for a season 5, so I'm happy to see that so many people are enjoying it. Then I also watched, of course, the Book of Boba Fett. I have to say I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. It was not as strong as I was expecting it was going to be. The first 2 episodes were slow and kind of not much was happening, but I was thinking, okay, they must be building something for later. Funny enough, my favorite episodes were basically the Mandalorian episodes with Baby Yoda, because love him. So it was not as strong as I wanted it to be, but honestly some of the episodes, especially the first one where it's just Mando and the baby, were absolutely fantastic. And now let's talk about 2 TV shows that I binged on Netflix that were my favorites from January. These are really strong contestants to be my favorite shows of 2022. And the first one, I'm gonna have to read this title. But you already know probably what I'm gonna say, because if I have to read it, it has to be The Woman in the House Across the Street from the girl in the window. And this TV show has divided audiences because this is a dark comedy and it is supposed to poke fun at those typical thrillers, you know, that have the word girl in it. The Girl on the Train, Gone Girl, like all of these things. And this humor is definitely not gonna be for everybody, but when I tell you I was laughing so hard, this was just so dark and unexpected and fun. I love it because they dared to do something that not many people do. It kind of reminded me, in a way, now that I'm thinking of it, of Malignant, which is a movie that was really misunderstood because it was trying to make fun of a lot of tropes, and I feel like this TV show is kind of doing the same but with a lot more of a serious tone, and a lot of people are confused by that. A lot of people do not get that satire, they just don't get it, and then they don't think it's funny. So I understand that for those people the show makes no sense and that they despise it. But for me, I love it. I want to rewatch it. The way it's embracing all the tropes of these films with a main character that is a woman that has had tragedy in her past and has a big loss in her past and now is depressed and is drinking alcohol and is looking through her window and has a crush on the new neighbor, like all the tropes, all of them. Loved it. And honestly, I did not expect that ending. It caught me off guard. Absolutely freaking loved it, and this is a show that I'm definitely gonna rewatch. And the last thing that I would like to talk to you about is my favorite thing that I have watched when it comes to TV shows in January, and that is Archive 81. I had seen people talking about this and I didn't want to know anything going into it, so I didn't read any reviews or watched any videos or anything, and I just went into it without any expectations. And honestly, this is a TV show that I would recommend for people that like Mike Flanagan because it had a little bit of that flavor. So in this show we have this guy that gets offered a job that sounds too good to be true, so we all know something shady is gonna happen here. So he gets a job restoring damaged videotapes, and he is sent to these amazing home in the middle of nowhere where he can focus on restoring the damaged tapes and archiving them. And as he's watching the tapes, he gets pulled into a mystery involving a missing girl and something that happened years ago, a fire in a building. The show, you know, there's so many things that I could tell you about the show that I can't because I feel like I will be spoiling it for you. So just go into the show without having any expectations at all and just, you know, be there for the ride. The way that they combine science fiction with the supernatural, I absolutely loved it. I mean, this show for me is a 5 stars, no questions, and it was just so strong. This is definitely one of the best shows that I've seen on Netflix, including the ones from Meg Flanagan that you guys know I love. The concept, the execution, everything was fantastic. The way that every episode leaves you with more questions, with more twists, it's just so engaging. Like, we started the show and we wanted to keep binging because we needed to know. And that is a good sign. That is a good sign. Something you have to know is this show is really dark. It has a really dark tone and it gets darker and darker as we progress. So if you're looking for something light to watch, this might not be for you. It's also combining 2 different timelines. We have the present time, we have this guy like fixing the damaged tapes and watching them, and then we have the tapes, so we get some kind of handheld camera footage. And that was my favorite part, to follow this woman kind of filming herself in her camera, doing interviews and investigating about a building. Those were my favorite moments. But the way that this show starts combining these 2 worlds, fantastic. Absolutely loved it. If you are looking for a unique, dark story with a lot of interesting twists, this is definitely something that you have to check out. Alright you guys, so this is everything that I watched in the month of January. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and let me know down below what is the best thing that you watched in the month of January. What would you recommend me? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!